Good evening. It is great to be back with you. I was away last week at my Covenant Group retreat. I'm in a group of 9 Methodist pastors serving Methodist churches in Florida. We get together twice a year just to check in with each other to see how we're doing. How is it with your soul? How's it going in relationships? Are you drawing closer to God? Accountability after the Wesleyan groups of our heritage. And so it was a very important week, but it's good to be back with you tonight. And I have some exciting things to share. I'm going to share the first draft of our 2022 budget. Now that might not sound super exciting to you, but it is exciting because this budget represents ministry. You'll see the dollar signs, but the dollar signs represent God's kingdom. They represent the preaching of the gospel through the online or in church on Sunday. They represent teaching adults and teaching youth on Sunday night. They represent caring for children. They represent visiting the sick. They represent building God's kingdom across this world. And so the budget is simply the formation and resource that guards the tools that lead to ministry. And that's exciting to me. Second, I'm excited about the 2022 budget because I think it represents good stewardship. There's a lot of work that goes into our church budget. Our process is multi-step with multiple checks and balances. It starts with the finance team meeting with our staff and our lay leaders, helping them address some of the upcoming goals and objectives, to talk about the process and to look at the numbers of the past year. The ministry leaders meet with their teams and they come through a visioning process to see what they feel God is calling them to do, and they present an asking budget to their pillar, which then rolls up to one big budget in our financial office. Our COO, Matt Kuzma, oversees the compilation of that asking budget from all the different parts of the church. That includes a number of administrative costs. As you know, at home, things cost more money every year. Things don't generally get cheaper. Electricity becomes more expensive year after year. Health insurance becomes more expensive year after year. You see these fixed costs go up. And so that has to be factored into the asking budget, and it all has to be balanced together. Once it's rolled up, it's head back to the finance committee, who looks it over, and the finance committee recommends the total amount of the final asking budget. That is, they decide based on pledges and giving trends and what they see, how much at the outside limits that we will approve spending for the coming year. That then goes to the council to decide how that is divvied up and accepted, indeed, if they accept the finance committee's recommendation. The leadership council is the umbrella board who has final say. And the analogy that I like to use is that the finance committee tells us how much we can go and spend at Publix on our groceries, total amount at the cashier register. The leadership council tells us if we're going to spend it on peas or carrots or on tomatoes or potatoes. They're the ones that decide how that's allocated. That's part of their role. And so there's multiple steps to this. And what I'd like to share for you tonight is our first draft of our proposed budget for 2022. It is not done. It's at the stage of being compiled and now coming before the finance committee to decide about the total ends of the amounts. But I wanted you to know we're in this stewardship month and we're talking about our giving to the budget. I wanted you to see this process and be transparent about the good stewardship that's going on behind it. And in particular, there are 4 things that I'd like you to know about the 2022 budget. And the first is that this middle yellow line under the total income as comparison to the total general income. The total general income is basically the income we receive in our offering, either in the plate on Sunday or online during the week. That $1.895 million is the amount of money we receive in the offering. The total income is the amount of money that we receive overall, the 4.7. So that's 60% of our overall budget comes from outside of our offering plate. Only 40% of our budget comes from what people give through the plate on Sunday. And that's, I think, a significant figure. The rest comes from grants. You see the Marcy participates in that. You'll see underneath the total general yellow line there at the top, there's facility use that's involved in that. You'll see the total vibrant family next line item down. That's like the preschools, the different ministries that generate income also play into that. So all of that rolls back up to the total income. And what I'd like you to see is that we're trying to be realistic, number two, about the total offering. We're trying to really get down to what we think we will actually receive. We're coming out of this pandemic. We're trying to move forward into the new year. But we've put in just under $1.9 million, which is the lowest amount of income over 2019, 2020, or 2021. So we're really seeking to be, this is what we think we're going to actually receive, and to be conservative on that figure, hoping and praying, of course, that it'll be more, but trying to be on the conservative end on our income so that we're realistic about where we wind up. So that's the second thing. First, 60% of our offering comes from outside of the offering. Second, our offering income projected for 2022 is less than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Third, down at the total expense line, which is the third yellow line on your screen, you'll see that our projected expenses are $4.9 million, which is flat pretty much within $10,000 of this year's budget. So we're trying to keep the expenses the same, even though we have fixed costs that are going up. Health insurance is going up, utilities is going up, and yet we've had to reduce it from somewhere else to keep our budget the same, and actually keep the budget expenditures under 2020 or 2021 or even 2019. So we're seeking to be very conservative in that. Now you'll notice at the very last line there, there's still a gap of about $242,000. We're not done with the budget. That's where we're starting to work from. We don't anticipate being there at the end of this process, but that's where we're starting from in this dialogue. And so wanting you to know about that and be transparent about that. So a lot of our income comes from outside the offering plate. We pretty much lowered our projected income. We've also flatlined our expenses and lowered them from the previous years, 2019, 2020. Number four, fourth and final, we really need your help. We are reviving, we are revitalizing, we are ramping up. I can feel it in the schedule. More and more is happening. The calendar is getting full, lots of meetings. I've met with 4 different ministry teams this week, Brain Fitness, Foundry, and so on, just for a couple of examples, and teams that are getting back fired up into ministry. And we're heading in, and we have a lot of dreams, and we feel called to head into 2022. To do this, we're all going to have to come together as a family and help support this and help support what God is calling us to do. And so if you would, please take a minute to pray about what God has put on your heart, to pray for our church, to listen to the Spirit in that conversation, and when so led, to get online and to fill out the pledge card for the coming year, or to put it in the offering plate coming up in church for 2022, so that we can know and be good stewards of what God is going to do us do in the coming year. I can feel it. I can feel things coming. I see good things ahead for us in this coming year. And I can't wait to see them, and I can't wait to share them with you. So God bless, and I'll see you in church on Sunday.